welcome, Andy Cowley.
Hi.
You're here to talk about your book. What is the book?
It's called That's Not a Piñata, That's My Wife!
Why? What's the best sentence in the book?
Probably, well, the only one I can remember is the title. It comes out and it's, "That's not a piñata, that's my wife!"
That's the best sentence.
Well, that's the first sentence. And then...
There's quite a difference between best and first.
Yeah.
As an author, perhaps that's something that you should be aware of.
Well, I've just front-loaded the book. As I said, I spoiled the book in the first paragraph. I actually spoiled it in the book is the first sentence. The rest of it is in order to make it a book. The first sentence is the book. Hi, I'm Andy, and I've written a book. Wow. Don't worry, that's not the real book. Of course, that was just a prop. In fact, the real book doesn't actually have a physical copy. It's all digital, like this fire. Now, because there's no physical copy, it means there's no cover, which means you can't judge it. Oh no! You'll just have to read it. Or, better yet, listen to me read it, review it, and offer insight into the mind of the maniac who wrote it. So, get yourself by a fire, don't sit too close, put your feet up, and eat your coffee, because I'm going to start reading. Now, that's not a piñata, that's my wife! Bertie Fondant was beside himself. He dropped to his knees and ran his fingers through her strawberry-laced hair as it uprooted from her head. He was, of course, also beside the body of his wife of 34 years, having just beaten her to a pulp with a stick of rock on the patio. She was now nothing more than a rubble of guts, blood, icing sugar, and some undigested licorice. "Maria!" he called out with a crackle in his voice. Oh, I didn't do the crackle. Maria! He called out with a crackle in his voice. That was once her name, but the kids on the block refer to her nowadays as the Piñata Woman. They never found her body. The birds must have whisked most of her away, but they say to this day there are still stains on the flagstones where her creamy bones melted in the summer sun of 1955. The book is essentially about a woman who's trying to spice up her marriage. I say spice up loosely because she's using sweets and candy. Husband's developed...
Sweeten.
Huh?
Maybe sweeten. Oh,
yeah. Get that in the book. The man's developed a sort of fetish for piñatas, one way or another.
Tell us one way.
Well, I know he has sex with a cactus in the first sort of couple of chapters. She's trying to rekindle the flame, and she then feels like transforming into a piñata is what's going to do the trick. And the book really isn't about that. It's about how much should you sacrifice for love? How much should you change for your partner? Should you change for your partner? Read the book.
You think that's good, do you?
I think it was 10 years ago. But it's fallen behind. It's fallen behind the times now. Yeah. Now, a lot of candy references throughout the first paragraph. But something to take with a pinch of salt is this line, "in the summer sun of 1955. I don't think the rest of the book is in 1955. It might be. Maybe I'm selling myself short. But I don't remember the rest of the... I mean, it's page 1. And I'm already thinking the continuity's out the window. So, Godspeed for the rest of the book. Jesus Christ. That's how the kids on the block tell it anyway. You know how these stories change as they get passed around the playground. There was the one about the man who married that pogo stick, for instance. It wasn't a pogo stick, it was a cricket bat. It was a cricket bat. I don't know what the hell that line is. Or what about the woman who cheated on her husband with an advent calendar? I bet that didn't last more than a month. Absolutely shit. Absolutely shit. Things change a lot over time, and that could be for better or for worse. Some caterpillars become butterflies who set the garden alight, and some caterpillars become moths who are drawn too close to a flame. You see, look at this. I can be metaphorical too. I can be philosophical. You got this beautiful, beautiful metaphor about caterpillars and butterflies. And the thing is, it's kind of a metaphor for what we're doing now. I actually haven't read this book since I originally hacked together the first draft. And to be honest, I've got no idea if this is going to be a beautiful butterfly or a kind of disgusting moth. I guess we'll find out. But if there are more metaphors like this, whoa. When we were in sixth form, there was this sort of dead rat hanging from a fence. Another lad, not really a friend, more of an acquaintance, he was sort of smacking this dead rat. And my other friend ran out and said, "That's not a dead rat, that's my wife!" And I thought in that moment, I'm going to write a book. Well, Piñata Woman is the one the kids on the block talk about most. Some say she was bitten by a radioactive piñata, whilst others say she had sex with a Battenberg cake. Like that line, Fig? No. Nobody knows what happened to Bertie in the end, but apparently on Halloween, if you eat the sweets you're given from trick-or-treating at the old fondant house on the corner of Button Road, your eyes will become gobstoppers and your brain will turn to marshmallow, and his ghost will come after you to satisfy his harrowing sweet tooth. Now, sweet tooth was actually something I penciled in for a possible name for the book. But in the 10 years that I've taken to write this book, a TV show's beat me to it. What a shame. So it'll have to be, that's not a piñata, that's my wife. And Sweet Tooth is probably where it deserves to be on a sort of real piece of media.
Why a piñata?
Because you couldn't get away with writing a book where, somebody's whacking a dead rat and guts are flying across the room. It's much more savoury to have sweets and candy fly across the room than the sexual organs of a dead rat. Now, every town has got one of these kind of ghost stories that is in the sort of folklore of the town. In my town, it was a girl called Mary Black. Now, my town was kind of originally farmland, and she was kind of skipping around this farmland at the back of the school, la-di-da-da, la-di-da, hit by a tractor, and very brutally killed, as you can imagine. Now, there's a grid at the back of the school field, which is said to be her grave. Now, if you jump on that grid 3 times, she comes out and consumes you. Big mess. Not ideal. Did I ever jump on it 3 times? Absolutely not. and in that same breath, I wouldn't be doing trick or treating at the fondant house. It's just the way it is in the culture of this town. Why did she become a piñata? Why did her husband beat her to a pulp in the garden? Show, don't tell. You know, and in this case, just ask. I don't want to be the one to burst your bubblegum. If your curiosity betrays you and you continue to read on, I'll tell you. But the truth will most likely leave a bittersweet taste in your mouth. Especially if you don't stop licking the pages. But how do you know I'm not just some kid on the block? You'll have to take my word for it. Expect less of an Eton mess and more of an Eton total bloody disaster. I like that line. That's a good line, that, the Eton mess one. Well done, Andy. Good job. And I'll tell you what else I like in this paragraph. You get this kind of narrator coming in, and he's quite clearly an unreliable narrator. In fact, he's talking absolute shit. But I would run through a brick wall for him because, you know, he's telling stories in a way that nobody's ever told a story before. Telling me to stop licking the pages. Eton mess wordplay. Fantastic. I'm quite happy for this unreliable narrator to embellish the truth a lot. And I think I'm quite excited to see the journey that he's going to take me on. Sometimes the best books are when you know the ending and you're sort of following the story to that point. People are obsessed with spoilers, aren't they? But that's why in my book, I sort of spoil it at the start. And then you find out how it gets there. You don't need to read the end. But as long as you sort of...
The book was spoiled very early on.
The book's spoiled in the first paragraph. Now, I made the decision to start the book with the ending. It's been done before, obviously. It's not a new thing. Come on, readers, read a book. But what I wanted to do was really go for that shock factor. A woman's a piñata. She's been smashed all over the patio. And I think the joy of the book is in the journey. You know, why is she a piñata? Why is her husband beating her up with a stick of rock? It's so far removed from real life that I wanted to make the reader think, you know, how the hell are we going to get there through the course of this book? Now, I, at this point, don't remember how we do. I don't know, but I'm intrigued to find out. The sort of core reading enjoyment is from the action that's happening. It doesn't matter why the rat's hanging up. It doesn't matter why he said it. You're asking a lot of questions about why, when you should just be reading the book. I'm very intrigued to hear what you think so far of That's Not a Piñata, That's My Wife. If you leave your comments, I'll try and incorporate them as part of my review. You know, it's not just me doing all the work. But thanks for watching. I tried to write a book. This was episode 1. Next time, it's going to be I tried to write a book, episode 2. It's the same book, but different pages.